Hi, Gina here with Peace, Love, and Homeschool, and today we're going to bust a few myths. You heard me right. We're going to bust a few myths about homeschooling, and we're going to talk about a few other things as well. Today's video is a collab, and it's hosted by April over at The Simple Rugged Path and Ingrid from Mommy and Mia Homeschool Chronicles. And if you haven't had a chance to check out their channels, what have you been waiting for? Their channels are always so uplifting, encouraging, and inspiring, and I just really appreciate I really appreciate them, and I'm glad I'm getting to know them a lot better. So it isn't just April, Ingrid, and I doing this collab. There are many other homeschool moms with years and years of collective homeschool wisdom on these myths and other thoughts about homeschooling. So I will have the playlist right up here for you to check out when you get a chance. You really don't want to miss this one, especially if you're new to homeschooling, because I think when you're new to homeschooling, you hear all these myths because you have a lot of people, when you tell them you're going to homeschool, that are going to be bucking against you. They're going to really try hard to change your mind and tell you all these things. You really need to research and be ready for the answers. And you know what? Seriously, you don't owe them any answers. You really don't. But it's always nice to have some kind of response ready so that you're not caught with that look, you know, the, I don't know look, you know. I hadn't thought of that look. You want to be prepared. I don't know why. I guess people just don't like when people go against the flow. These choices that we make about homeschooling really are personal choices. And you know what? I just want to tell you right now, it's okay to tell someone that you're not going to answer their questions or you're not going to have this discussion today, especially when it's someone who's egging you on, because those are the absolute worst. They're not arguing with you to change your mind. They are putting you down. So just be careful and be wise and pray about this. Pray about your answers that you're going to say. Now today's answers that I might give are probably going to be a little bit more on the short and sweet side, simply because I don't want to rant. I don't want to rant because it might turn into that. We'll see if I can control myself today. So with all that said, all the disclaimers, you've been warned. Let's get started. The first question is, what about socialization? Ingrid, April, I feel like you started us out with the biggest question of all. The one I would have saved for last, simply because I have a lot of thoughts on that, and I might even be snarky in this one. But when people ask me, what about socialization? My response is, what about it? What about it? My child gets up, goes to school, goes to co-op, we go to all these places, we socialize with many, many kinds of people. He's not limited to socializing with 28 other 14-year-olds in class in a day. I'm not hiding him away from the world so that he can't socialize. I mean, if you just talk to other people, aren't you socializing? Seriously though, if you have more than one child, your child is going to be socialized. If you go places, if you go to church on Sunday, if you go out to restaurants, if you ask them to ask the waitress for something, I feel our children are very well socialized, and they're not afraid to hold a conversation with an 80-something-year-old man, and they can even hold conversations all the way down through babies, you know. I have never once seen either of my kids not want to talk to an older person. They've always had very engaging, exciting conversations with people from our church. One of the churches we attend is primarily elderly people. And my son talks to all of them, and my daughter's friends with all of them. It's just really not a problem. This is the biggest myth of them all, I believe, that you know, that your child will not be socialized if you homeschool. So don't even give it a second thought. The next question I've heard quite a lot. I've heard this probably more than socialization. I don't have the patience to homeschool. I don't know if I can answer this question nicely. I'll just be honest with you right there. I'm not going to lie. To me, it really irks me when parents say that. because I really believe that God gives you what you need when you need it. And if you have to homeschool your child, you will have the patience to homeschool your child. I'm not saying it's going to be all happy and roses, but there are days when I'm pulling out my hair. Yes, it happens. There are days where my son is so happy to homeschool that he just does it on his own. And then there are days where he just doesn't, like last night. He was asked to do his work and he was trusted to do his work because he was left alone for a few hours. And when I came back, no work had been done. And he's going to have to face the consequences to that. And I did pull out my hair when we had a conversation because the answer is always the same. My kid's just a normal kid like any kid. That is definitely my answer for that one, is God will give you the patience you need to homeschool your child if he's called you to homeschool your child. So make sure you're listening. Make sure you hear that call if that's what he's asking you to do. And don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid. Okay, so number 3 is we can't afford to homeschool. What I usually say to that is anybody can afford to homeschool. Yes, if you have thousands of dollars, you can buy top of the line curriculum, all the bells and whistles, all that comes in those big packages. But there are also homeschool websites that have complete curriculum out there for free, and they're quality. They're quality education. If you are called to homeschool your child, then you are qualified by the highest authority to homeschool your child, and that is God. He's giving you a God-given right to train up your children in the way they should go. I can't think of a higher authority than that. Number 4, do you homeschool in your PJs? Unapologetically, yes. Why, didn't you know? It's the authorized homeschool uniform. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Seriously, yes, we do homeschool in our PJs. Sometimes. When we feel like it, when we're sick, yes, we homeschool when we're sick. And when we're being lazy. Of course we do. Okay, number 5 is kind of long, and with my mama brain, there's no way I'm going to memorize it to say what it is, but number 5 is, if I can read it. Don't you think by homeschooling, you are keeping your child from learning how to handle life, to interact with a diverse group of people? Not at all, really. As homeschoolers, we don't just stay home all the time. I know it's called homeschooling, but we don't stay home all the time. That is the truth. We are out and about every day. I have my kids run errands for me. They talk to so many people. We go to church. We do other things, bowling, go to Nashville, hang out. I mean, my kids are around so many different people. There is no problem. They see a lot of things, and we talk about a lot of things together. That's the beauty of it, is that we get to handle these things together. And they have had situations where they've been put on the spot by other people, and they've dealt with that just fine. And they've been in church where they've had disagreements with people, and they've dealt with that just fine. You don't have to have your child be dealing with 28 other 14-year-olds in one classroom every day to be able to learn how to deal with different problems. There are problems in everyone's life. And I just think that's kind of, I'm not trying to put anyone down, but that's just kind of silly to think that just by home educating my child, that they're not going to be equipped to handle these things. It's not like the Mary Poppins family over here, by far. So even within our own family, they've learned. So I don't see it as a problem at all. Okay, number 6, the question is, why aren't your kids in school today? And honestly, I have never had that question asked to me. Every time we've been out and about, the person always asks my kids. I don't know why that is, but that's how it's always been. I've never been asked directly. And I let my kids handle it since they're asked, and they handle it just fine. No, I'm homeschooled. Do usually end of discussion right there. You know, the person will be like, oh, okay. Number 7 is homeschool kids cannot play sports or take place in extracurricular activities. Now, we haven't really looked into this where we are, but we have heard there is a program where our kids can participate in the schools. We've never tried it. And I know there are some places that do and some places that don't, so that just all depends on where you live. It would be up to you to check, with your local public schools to find out if that is something that can be done. And if not, you can always look into the Christian schools, because I know our local Christian schools open up several events each year for our homeschool kids. So that's always a different avenue you can take as well. Okay, the next one, and I've totally lost track of all numbers, is homeschooling is only allowed in the United States. That's not true. I know there are places where you cannot homeschool. I believe Germany is one of them. I just remember that from that story of that homeschool family who came here to try to homeschool their children because it was not allowed where they were. And it's just up to you, depending on where you live, to look into it further. And you know what else? I have met a few people from this area in Tennessee who were like the pioneers of getting homeschool laws changed. The people that broke the rules, that kept their kids at home to home educate them, and they all survived it. So depending on where you live and what the laws are, it might be up to you to fight for your rights and to I know this is hard, but it might be up to you to fight for your rights and to try to get something like homeschooling legal, because it is completely and 100% worth doing. There's so much more added to your family. It's just the cohesiveness of the family is there. It's just tight-knit, and it's just, I don't even know how I could possibly send my kids to public school. Really. I just can't imagine doing it with all the things you hear nowadays about public schools. I would feel that would be abuse. I know that sounds like an outrageous statement, but that's just from my perspective. I would feel like that would be abuse to send my child or my children to a public school at this point. The next thought is homeschooling parents are stay-at-home moms who don't work. Now that is not true. I currently attend a co-op where several dads are there, and one dad homeschools while the mom goes to work. And at the co-op here in my town, there are several moms. I was really surprised, actually, so I kind of believe this as well, but there were several moms who homeschool and work. I don't know how they do it. I tried to go to college and homeschool, and that was so tough for me. I had to finally just pull back and let my husband go to college while I homeschooled our daughter. Homeschool parents come in all different shapes and sizes and educational backgrounds, and it's just a plethora of people home educating our children. And if you seriously feel called to home educate your child and you need to work, I say there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. I would definitely pray about it and ask God for His provision. The next one is homeschool students are unprepared for college. I'm going to say by the world's standards, possibly. But hear me out, okay? My daughter is an artist. I did not see her taking a traditional college approach. So our schooling consisted of regular studies plus the extras that she was interested in. She's always had test anxiety, so I really didn't think she was going to pursue college. Since she was a kindergartner, she had test anxiety. They had to test her. Well, she started kindergarten in a private school, and then we moved, and the new school didn't want to allow her to go on to first grade because of her age and her birth date when that fell. They wanted her to repeat kindergarten, and I wish at that point I would have let her repeat kindergarten rather than go through the hell that she went through. Pardon my language, but I feel like she went through torture in her first grade class. But they asked that she do a test, and she did the test, but she did not do very well in the test because she was so anxious about it. It really, I don't know why it scared her. I didn't talk about the test. I didn't even tell her it was going to happen. Maybe I should have prepared her for that, but it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't work out. In the end, they let her be in the first grade class. She was in the first grade class with an older, brand new teacher, and the teacher had no control of the classroom, and it was chaos, and my daughter would hide under her desk and cry. After coming from a small classroom of about, I think it was less than 10 kids, and there were 2 boys and the rest were girls, and her teacher, all the girls would always, they loved their teacher. They would always hug her and everything, and their teacher allowed that, and the first grade teacher did not. So all this change was just too much for her, and I ended up pulling her about 6 weeks out, after 6 weeks of being in this class. So through the years we went through everything, and she did well. We did a very non-traditional approach to, we took a very, well, at first we did an Abeka video course, which I do not recommend. Never, 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 never do that. I don't see how any kid can just sit there and watch for a video course all day long like that, like they expected my daughter to do. It was just, it was not ideal. So we did a non-traditional approach. She wasn't very good at spelling, but she loved to tell stories, and I was teaching her typing. So she started typing, and all of a sudden, on Microsoft Word, there used to be a little red underline, or there still is. There's a little red underline for when you've misspelled something, and she would see it, and all of a sudden her spelling started improving. And she started remembering how to spell these words that she couldn't spell before. So that was her spelling. We did, like I said, very non-traditional and a lot of unschooly type stuff, but we still did some traditional school too. The thing I want to stress here is I taught my daughter how to learn. Okay, I didn't let her rely totally on me for learning. I taught her how to seek out the answers that she wanted to learn about. So senior year comes along, she decides, maybe I want to go to college. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how are we going to handle this? She took the ACT test, and lo and behold, she got a good enough score to go to college. I don't know if you know, but a lot of colleges are seeking out homeschoolers. So that doesn't happen to be our story, but our story still works, whereas my daughter, even with a very non-traditional type of schooling, is able to go to college according to her ACT test grades. If you read to your child's going to learn. If you watch a movie with your child's going to learn. People don't just say, oh, time to learn. We're going to learn right here from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. and that's it. And then no more learning today. That just doesn't happen. And I'm not trying to be sarcastic there, but think about it. We're always learning. And the time that we spend as homeschoolers with our children and doing the things that we do, we're investing in our children, and they'll learn. It just happens. It's amazing. Okay, and finally, what about the times when you're out and about and somebody asks your child, why aren't you in school today? And they say, oh, I'm homeschooled. And the person immediately proceeds to quiz your child. Did you hear the rooster? Anyway, not my rooster. Yeah, it's morning. Anyway, that has never happened to me. At least not with being out and about. It's happened within my family, and it's not been too bad. But if that had happened to me, I'm telling you, Mama Bear would have come out, because my daughter is 24 years old. It's been a long time. I'm seeming to remember right now, to recall that yeah, she was quizzed a couple of times, but I can't remember how it turned out. And I think what it was is she was quizzed on things that she knew, so I wasn't worried about it. And it was when I was a very new homeschooler, and it was before I knew or gave myself the permission to say, this isn't happening here, you know. So if that happens to you, feel free to do that. Okay, you can be polite about it. You don't have to just, no. But you can find some words to say. And I recommend that a lot of these answers, I think I said this before at the beginning, but have an answer ready to give so that you're not caught with that duh look. Because when you get caught with that look, you will beat yourself up for it afterwards. You will. You'll feel so stupid. And I mean, I know you're not, but that's how you're made to feel. You are your child's parent. And it's okay. It really is okay to tell somebody that that's not going to happen. Because it's quite rude of them to even start quizzing in the first place. So like I said, get answers, and not only get the answers ready, but rehearse them. Rehearse them out loud. Be prepared to answer the questions that are going to happen when you start homeschooling, or when you tell people you're going to start homeschooling, or that you're going to homeschool your child. It's okay. Just be ready, be prepared. You'll survive it. We all have. Ingrid and April, thank you so much for this video. It was quite fun. I kind of dreaded it because I thought I was going to be real heavy-handed and just want to quash these, but I hope I didn't offend anyone. I really hope I didn't. I'm not against public schoolers. I understand public school, homeschool, these things aren't for everyone. You have to go with where you feel led with your child. So please don't think I'm putting you down in any way if you choose to public school your child. I do happen to think that homeschooling is the highest quality for my child. I can't change my mind about that. It's just how I feel after my experience all these years. I'm gonna stop here, or I will start adding stuff in. So thank you so much for watching this video today. If you liked it, give us a thumbs up. That would really help us out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out. If you missed my last video, no worries, you can check it out right here. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel right here. And be sure and ding the little bell so you know each and every time we upload.